Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. I hope everyone can hear me well. We have just started our live chat. Please, can everyone give me a little check if everything is okay, if it's working or not? If everyone tells me that the live chat is working, if everyone tells me that they can hear me, I will immediately start with the program. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. I hope everyone... Okay, wonderful. So, as some of you might know, I've had some recent health issues, some recent problems. I've had an anxiety problem, a little anxiety disorder that I developed on the in the recent days. That's why I made a little stop with my whole videos, with my live chats, with everything. I also canceled all the video live chats that I made with everyone else. But since I set up this live chat with Christian Prince before, and since he doesn't show his face, we decided to just make this an audio call, so there is no problem with this at all. We can just go ahead. He will be talking most of the time anyway. I will take questions from all of you. You will not be able to see me in this one. As said, it is an audio live chat. And that's all. And if everyone is ready, I will just go ahead and introduce Christian Prince immediately. Christian Prince has his own YouTube channel called The Arabian Prophet. I talked about it before. He makes great work. He debates Muslims live on his channel. He has a lot of knowledge on Islam. I'm saying this really meaning it. He has a degree in Islamic law and civil law. He has published books on Islam. He has made so many studies on Islam, and very often, whenever he debates Muslims, we see very often that he basically wins the debates, what we call winning. Without going any further, let me just start talking to him right away. Hello, Christian Prince. How are you?
Hey, my friend. I'm fine. Thank you very much for having me in your channel, and we appreciate having you too. Thank you.
Wonderful. Can you tell me if I introduced you correctly? Is there anything you want to add about yourself? You have a degree in Islamic law and civil law. You have studied Islam very much. You speak Arabic and so on. Do you want to add anything to that?
I will leave the rest of the career to the Muslims to tell us what they think about me, and then we will see.
Wonderful. Nice introduction. So, Many of you have asked me so often to invite Christian Prince on my channel. Finally, he's here. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. The first thing I would like to talk about with you, Christian Prince, how open are you about your privacy? Would you like to tell us more about where you exactly come from, like country-wise or region-wise? How you acquired your knowledge, your scholarship, your information on Islam and otherwise?
Well, I'm a Middle Eastern for sure, which means they call me Arab, and Arabic is my first language. And I have my degree in Islamic law, but my knowledge has nothing to do really with my degree, because in Islamic universities, they teach you nothing about what Islam is about. They teach you only what they want you to learn. So most of the knowledge I earned, it's my own work and on my own study. Same time, I don't really share much information about myself, because I like privacy. It's not because anything else. I mean, I like to be. I'm a private person.
Mm-hmm.
I like freedom. The second you are a person who is, let us say, a public face, then wherever you go, even like you will have either people who like you or people who hate you. So I prefer to stay away from both, who like me and who hate me, and enjoy life better.
I can very much understand that. I can very much deal with that. Well, as you might see, I chose a quite different approach to the public. I just made myself completely public, although I'm an ex-Muslim. I show my face and so on, but I see very much why you would choose to be private, because now that I show my face, I show my name and so on. It is really unbelievable how much abuse, how much insults, how much private investigations into my life take place because I criticize Islam. Why do you think is that? Why do you think Islam is the only religion that we can't properly criticize without getting so much backlash, without getting so much hate, so much persecution from the believers? Why is Islam the only religion that has this big problem?
Muhammad, he said, I've been victorious by terror. And terror have many faces. They try to intimidate you. Even when you debate Muslims, you don't notice a debate, you notice an intimidation process. They try to intimidate you, make a mockery of you, make you feel that you are not safe, not secure, so you might lose, and maybe they can shut you up. So the whole idea is, if I can scare you, then you lost. And this is why Muhammad, he focused on terrorism, because terrorism is the way to win fast. You do not need to debate with anyone. You just put a sword in the neck of the person and you convert. So there is no need for debate. There's no need for who's right, who's wrong. The one who is in charge of terror is the one who should win. But those things are not working anymore. So the Muslims, they try maybe to harass you as a person, try to put you down, try to speak about you, or creating stories about you, hoping that nobody will take you into consideration no more, and they will not, you will lose your credit. So even they will be willing to fabricate stories about you. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It's just in order to make you look bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they tell you even things like, if you are a former Muslim, they tell you stuff like you were never a real Muslim to begin with. You have no credentials, this and that. No one will believe you, and so on. If you never were a Muslim, but if you start criticizing Islam, then they say, oh, you have a completely, evil agenda, a vile agenda against Islam, and so on and so forth. And the only thing we actually do is just criticize Islam. The funny thing is, I bring this up very often. We see so many critics of Christianity online. There are probably so many critics of Christianity online, so much more than there are critics of Islam online, and yet we have this great problem with criticizing Islam. But I want to go back to something you just said at the very beginning, which is that you acquired most of your knowledge about Islam from by yourself, not from Islamic education. I would say, as a former Muslim, I totally agree with that. Muslims tell me nowadays, Muslim apologists tell me nowadays very often that I don't have any degree in any Islamic field, which is why I shouldn't be trusted as an expert on Islam. But the thing is, I educated myself on Islam very much, and you did the same. And we do this for a reason, because I grew up in Islam, and most things I learned about Islam are positive things about Islam. No one told me extensively about Aisha's age, about how the marriage stuff really works, about how divorce really works, about how wife beating really works, about all the hadith concerning, cursing the disbelievers, cursing the Jews and the Christians, fighting all the people until everyone agrees that Allah is the only God and that Muhammad is his only messenger, and so on. What is your observation when you bring up these points on your channel, on other platforms to Muslims? What do you see coming from the Muslim side? Do you see more of an apologist approach to that? Do you see denial? What can you say about that with your experience?
Muslims, for me, is like a kid who he thought that his toy is the best, and he was worshipping it for long. And then when you show him how stupid it is, the toy he have in his hand, he start calling you names and screaming and even threatening you. But sooner or later, they notice that their toy is stupid. As an example, I'm just talking to you now, and a Muslim, he challenged me to read chapter 3, verse number 61, which is one of the most funny verses in the Quran. And this is how funny they are. How you are a Muslim and you say to me, read this verse. Here you see the Christians, they are debating Muhammad, and they ask Muhammad to come into debate. And the Christian, they have knowledge. This is why the Quran called them people of the book. And the Quran never called the Muslims people of the book, even though they claim that they have one. But the funny, they are not called in their own book people of the book. So in chapter 3, verse number 61, Muhammad, because he have a disability, the same disability we see today from the Muslims who claim to have knowledge, he said to the Christians, come, bring your family, bring your women, I bring my women, bring your children, I bring my children, bring your yourself, and bring myself, and let us invoke the invoke the curse of Allah and those who they are lying. And here you will notice that if a Muslim is not mature in the way of thinking, I don't blame him because he is following a prophet who is not mature in his thinking. If somebody want to debate you, what kind of debate this is to say to him, bring your wife and I bring my wives, bring your children's and I bring my children's, and let us have a cursing party, and let us curse the one who is lying. Here you will notice that Muhammad is giving us a great example of the low IQ and not being mature as an adult. Because if somebody want to debate you, I mean, why Muslims don't do the practice the debate of Muhammad? Based on this, I will take the microphone. I will say let us say you are still Muslim and I am a Christian. I say, I swear by Allah, I invoke a curse of Allah to cut my nose if I am lying. And then you take the microphone, you say, may Allah make a car go over me if I am lying. And then I take the mic again. And I say, may Allah close the door of the van over my fingers if I'm lying. I mean, this is the most stupid debate ever. So invoke the curse of Allah on those who they are lying. But who said that they are lying? You see, if somebody is a Buddha and he is debating me about his God, he is not lying, for he believes in that. Yes, for me, what he believes in is a lie, but he himself is not a liar. So here Muhammad is giving us a clear reception, or let us say presentation of himself. He is a person who feels guilty and he knew that he's a liar. So he want to invoke curse on the lying to prove that he is not a liar. It's the same as someone, working in prostitution. She want to take an oath that she is not a prostitute, even though there's nobody accused her to be a prostitute yet. But because she knew what she have and she knew what she is, so she want to invoke curse on the one, so that will make you believe that she is not what you think. And here we see that Muslims are the same. The Muslims, they cannot debate us or invoke curse. I hope I did answer you based on the Quran.
Absolutely.
So we learn this. This is how we learn about Islam. Islam is not something legitimate. First of all, there's no legitimacy in this cult, and there's no rules. The rules is just a collection of rules. Muhammad, he put it together, and the Muslims themselves are confused which one to follow and which one is not to follow, because they keep saying this one is abrogated, this one is not abrogated. It's a madness. So Islam is not really something you can learn in a school. In a school, everybody praise Allah, everybody praise Muhammad. That's it. Anything else is not there. In the school, you can ask questions about city stuff. As an example, you can ask, can I shave my underarm? Then you will see how many volunteers they will answer you. But the second you question who is Allah, they will kick you out from the school. So when the question is silly, everybody will answer you. When the question is serious, you will suffer.
Wonderful. A very sophisticated answer, actually. I would like to get with you into some of those lies that that we call lies that Muslim apologists tell us nowadays. I think I wouldn't say that everyone lies to us. I would say that many Muslim believers tell us things that are lies while completely believing that they are true. One of those examples, for example, is that the Bible and the Torah, or the Bible altogether, the Jewish and Christian scripture, were completely falsified, and therefore that somehow is a justification for Islam to be a superior, to be the only true religion. When you get into further talks with that, you see that many Muslims don't actually have any defensive standpoints on that. I mean, they don't actually have any well-substantiated points that they can use in that argument to make their argument in any way stronger. What would you say to those Muslims who claim that the scripture of the Christians and Jews were falsified by Christians and Jews, and that Islam was necessary because Islam brought everyone the right answer? What is your main argument against that point?
Actually, this is a wonderful accusation, because this accusation is going to be against Islam, not against us. Remember, the Muslims believe that the Quran confirmed that the one who sent the Injil and the Torah is Allah. And if the Muslim is saying to me that the Injil of Allah is corrupt, so what's my problem? Obviously, he is shooting himself in the foot. He is saying to me, I have a funny God, his name is Allah. He keeps sending books, but he cannot keep even one copy of them to be accurate. And here we notice that the Muslim, the second you say that to him, he switched from attacking the Bible to change the topic. He will not talk about the Bible is corrupt no more, because this is not an answer he was waiting for. He's waiting for you to say, oh no, we have many manuscript, etc. No, don't do that. Don't waste your time. Let the Muslims say that 1,000 times, because by saying that, who in the world, when a follower of God, he sent 124,000 prophet, and only one prophet they claim that his book is preserved. I mean, that is the most stupid God ever. Because imagine if I hire Allah to work in a library, a librarian, and then I say to Allah, I will give you this library, and it's full of 124,000 books. And then after 1,000 years, I come back and I found in the shelf there's only one book. So who is the stupid here? Me, or the God who could not preserve his own book? Because remember, those are not my books. You see, when a Muslim, he says to me, your Bible, I mean, I don't have a Bible. This is the book of God, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
It's not my book. So when you say to me your book, this is silly. Actually, even the Quran itself calling us people of the book. And here you will find another stupid issue. How our book is corrupt, but yet you call our book, you call us people of the book. It's like saying the guy, he don't have camel, but the guy with the camel. But we don't have a camel anymore. So why you call us people, the people with the camel? You know what I mean? So
that's a good
they
point.
They don't have intelligence. In the same time, as long we can show tons of verses from the Quran speaking clearly that the book which is given to the Christians supposedly never been corrupt, because the Quran says it clearly to confirm what is with them, and as long you are confirming what is with them, then you know that's mean you are confirming what is with them, and what is with them is the book, the Torah, and the Gospel. So how you confirm what is with them, but yet the book is corrupt? You see, like as an example, chapter 2, verse number 89, chapter 2, verse number 91, chapter 2, verse 101, chapter 2, verse number 213. I mean, you know, tons of verses saying clearly that the Quran confirm what they have with them in their possession, as we see. Actually, I'm showing it in my screen in my channel. So the Quran confirm what is in their possession. So when the Muslim, he says that, he is speaking even against his Quran, speaking with no knowledge except stupidity, and being a fool. And okay, if you want to be a fool, be a fool. So when a Muslim, he say that the Bible is corrupt, I advise the Christian not to say no. Say to him, thank you very much, your God book is corrupt, and you will see how his face will change in a second. Same time, as long the Torah and the Bible is corrupt, how Muhammad, he take an oath on in the Torah, as we see in this is Sahih Hadith. Muhammad, the Jews, they asked him about an issue of adultery, and Muhammad, he told them, bring the Torah for me. And then he, after they brought the Torah for him, he placed the cushion, you know, the one he was sitting in. After he brought the Torah, he said to them, okay, bring it. They brought it to it, and he withdrew the cushion from beneath of him, and he placed the Torah, saying, I believe in thee and in the one who revealed thee. Here Muhammad actually not only confirming the Torah is not corrupt, he is converting to Judaism, and he is taking Shahada. Because when you say that you are a prophet of Allah and you are swearing by the book saying, I believe in thee, and that is the Torah, and by the one who sent thee, which is Jehovah, that's mean Muhammad here trying to make himself look like a Jew, converting to Judaism officially. And he did not take an oath by Allah, because the one who sent the Torah is not Allah. This is the Torah of the Jew. This is not the Torah of Muhammad. So here Muhammad, he was trying to say he is a Jew, trying to convince them that he is one of them in order to make the Jews support him. But after a while, when he noticed that the Jews will not believe him anyway, he decided to flee and try to start killing them. And because that's it, he gave up. So everything the Muslims, they speak about, when they speak about corruption, it is for our benefit, not for their benefit. I have no problem if a Muslim says to me that the book of Allah is corrupt, because, well, obviously your God is a shish kebab. Anyone can corrupt his book. And the same happened for the Torah and the Quran. You say, it says the Quran that Allah, he gave the Torah to the rabbis to protect the Torah, but the rabbis did not protect it. And this is, and it says actually in here that Allah, he entrusted the rabbi. So Allah trusted the rabbi, and his trust was a failure. That's mean Allah cannot be God, because when I say I trust you, that's mean I made a decision of trust, and that's mean there's no way you will not be trustworthy, especially that the one who trusts is God. So obviously Allah cannot be God. And
Okay, but some Muslims say about the whole argument, about the whole that the Quran itself says that the books have been protected. Many Muslims would say that those verses don't refer to the Bible, that they only refer to the Quran, because it is a new declaration in the Quran. That's why such a declaration that no one can change Allah's word, that no one can change Allah's books, refers only to the Quran, not to the Bible. I'm sure you have heard that argument very often.
Yeah, but what we will do with the verses saying that we send a book confirming to what is with them. I mean, confirming what is with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how you confirm what is with them if what is with them is not confirmed? You know, I mean,
yeah.
It says مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا مَعَهُم. We confirm what is with them, as simple as that. So they cannot say we don't confirm it if Allah Himself He confirm it. Same time, let us say that Allah He decided to protect only His book. Who is the silly here? What kind of God He is silly? He favor some of His book over other books. Is that our problem? If we go in the Quran, as an example, in chapter 5, verse number 44. In chapter 5, verse number 44, it says that Allah, He entrusted the Jews to protect and to preserve the scriptures. Okay, when Allah He did that, did He make the wrong decision? Because if I hand you a book and I say to you, I trust you to protect it, and then after some time I come back and I found that you did not protect the book. Now I'm going to blame who? I'm going to blame the Jews, or I will blame myself as God. This is the Muslim translation in front of us on the screen. It says, it was we who revealed the law, which is the book of Moses. Therein was guidance and light. By the standard have been judged the Jews, by the prophet who bowed as between two brackets as in Islam, to Allah will, by the rabbis and the doctor of the law, for them was entrusted the protection of Allah book. And here we notice that the Quran again making a stupid mistake, because if Allah is the one who made a decision to trusting the Jews to protect the book, and the Muslim they say to us that Allah is all knowledgeable, all knowing, and He knew the future, that means He should know that the Jews are not trustworthy, and He should not give them such a job, because at the end of the day this is His book. So here when He said I trust you and the trust failed, that means Allah He do not know the future.
That basically means that Allah made a mistake, that the Almighty, all-knowing Allah made a mistake in choosing the wrong people.
Yes, especially He said the trust, because you see, when you take your money to the bank, why you don't take it to your neighbor? You take it to the bank because you trust the bank. You don't trust your neighbor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the bank, the whole idea of banking, that you trust that place because there is a guarantee from the government up to $200,000. If the bank go bankruptcy, the government will pay you back your money. So we entrust the bank to give our money to the bank because the bank cannot get away with it. So the trust here is established, is confirmed. Now Allah, when He say I entrusted the Jews in protection of the book, and then the Muslims they say to us that the Jews they corrupt the book, that means that the trust decision of Allah was a big stupid mistake, and Allah cannot be God, because God He knew the future.
Okay, so to make a little recap about the whole thing is that as many Muslims know, even those who are watching right now and making nasty comments, as many Muslims know, every Muslim learns from childhood, from very early ages, that the scripture of the Christians and the Jews were falsified by the Christians and the Jews, and that's why Islam came down, the only true religion came down, and Allah protected His Quran forever, and it can never be changed. But this argument also implies that Allah, when He chose the Jews as His chosen people, as His chosen good people, when He chose them, that Allah made a mistake. Now, the average Muslim would say, no, it's not a mistake. It's just a presentation so that every one of us can see that even the highest people, that even the most blessed people can make big mistakes and turn toward falsehood. But that is not a really good argument, because that really didn't have to happen. That would mean that Allah wasted everyone's time, that Allah wasted thousands of years, at least 3,000 of years, trusting the wrong people on earth, trusting the Jews, when in the end the Jews would turn away from Allah. That would really mean that Allah chose the wrong people. This either means that Allah can't make good choices, that Allah makes wrong choices, that Allah trusts the wrong people, or this means that Allah deliberately set this up and made his own chosen people, the Jews, all go to hell and be condemned forever. There is no way out of this. This is not a rational argument. So Muslims usually don't think about this, because they just learn this as some kind of story, as some kind of backstory of Islam, and as some kind of justification against while the Jews and the Christians are wrong, and Islam is eternally right, and so on. But when you think further about the logic behind this, it either turns out that Allah is not really very smart, and he should be very smart because he's the Almighty Allah, or that he had a pretty evil plan for humankind that no other person in this world in our time would morally agree with. So really, when we talk about the whole thing about the Bible being corrupted by the Christians and the Jews, it is really not a good argument in favor of Islam. It is a very big argument against Islam, because it makes Islam look very, very weak, and it makes the proposed God of Islam, Allah, look very either low intelligence or quite evil in his plans. But I think everyone got the point. I would like to take some super chats here. Some people made some super chats. Thank you so much, Christian Prince. There are some super chats by S. LaRock, who said, Christian Prince, you have so many great sound bites. I'd love to make Abdul t-shirts. Others include shut up, son of Mutaka, got you busted. That's for you. I think there's no question attached to that. Another super chat by Mr. Werewolf Dude. By the way, if you don't want to attach questions to your super chats, I would suggest you do that, because don't waste a super chat. Make a super chat with a question so that we can come together and answer those questions. Someone else said, Kafir Linda Clark, thank you so much, Linda, for being here as always, said, Apostate Prophet and Christian Prince are a miracle, hearing you both together, hallelujah. Jill17 said, you are doing good work. AP, thank you so much, Jill17. And then here's a question among the super chats by James Barrick, who made a super chat and said, can you briefly explain the difference between Shia and Sunni? Thanks. I think this is a good opportunity for you, Christian Prince, to talk a bit about the differences between Shia and Sunnis, and to also use that point to explain us what went wrong with Islam and what went wrong in the history of Islam. The question is, can you briefly explain the difference between Shia and Sunni? You have the microphone.
Thank you. Well, I don't see really too much different. It's just about how who is going to be more crazy and more infected with the virus. It's like each one of them, he have his own. It's like one coin, but have two faces. It's the same. And both of them, they are violence, by the way. But the Shia, their violence is different. They are smarter. They practice taqiyya more than the Sunni, a lot more. Otherwise, all of them, they are the same. Both, they worship Muhammad. The difference is the Shia, they worship all the family of Muhammad. The Muslim Sunni, they worship Muhammad only, and they focus on him to be the star in the forehead of Allah. The Shia, they believe that there's all the family of Muhammad, Ali and Muhammad and his daughter Fatima and her children. All of them, they are not even a human. They are created from light. And the Sunni, somehow they believe in the same, but they have different approach. So both of them, they believe in the same thing. All the fight is that the Sunni, they supported the ones who fought Ali and his family, and the Shia, they are against anyone who fought Ali. So it is about power, because Islam is a religion of power. Seeking power is not about God. So Ali wanna be Khalifa, Uthman wanna be Khalifa, Umar want to be a Khalifa, Abu Bakr want to be a Khalifa. So all of them, they are fighting over power. And we see that right away from the early stage of Islam, the Muslims killing each other, to the point of Uthman, the Muslim that read his Quran today, supposedly they claim that this is his Quran. Not only they killed him, they cut his head, and before they do that, they took the hair of his beard one by one, making fun of him, torturing him. And after they killed him, they drag him in the street. And after that, they refused to bury him in any graveyard in the town. And this is the caliphate. Who Muhammad, he promised him to go to heaven just because he gave him money. So Shia and Sunni, it's the same cult, the same madness, but they sponsor different politicians. So the Sunni, they sponsor Abu Bakr and his gang, and the Shia, they sponsor Ali and his gang. And now Islam is not about Muhammad anymore. It's about Abu Bakr and his gang and whoever after, and about Ali and his gang and whoever come after. So it's two gangs fighting each other.
There's also a lot of hostilities still going on. There were so many more hostilities in the past, like, I don't know, a few centuries ago, concerning the Sunni Caliphate fighting against the Shia Imamate and the other way around. Sometimes one had the upper power, sometimes the other had the upper power. The word taqiyya, by the way, which is also very often brought up by opponents of Islam, is something that has not originated within Shia Islam, but that has become very, very strong within Shia Islam. I want to explain that in a different dedicated episode, but the deal is basically that the deal is basically that the Shia have been so much persecuted by the Sunni Muslims that they started to develop this strategy of lying to Sunni Muslims in identifying themselves as Sunni Muslims. So a Shia Muslim walks around within the Sunni people of his country, and whenever someone asks him what he believes in, he would say, "I am a Sunni Muslim. I'm a Hanifi. I'm this. I'm that." So they wouldn't out themselves as Shia Muslims. So they wouldn't be killed by Sunni Muslims, or wouldn't be persecuted, wouldn't be, disadvantaged by Sunni Muslims. It also shows that Islam has been at war with itself for so many centuries, with itself, not only with others. So when Muslim apologists nowadays, especially moderate Muslims, or especially fundamentalist Muslims, today come out and claim that the Islamic world is only in such big misery nowadays because of the West and because of how the West bombs the Islamic world and so on. That is a complete lie. Not only has the Islamic world been at a jihad, in a fight against the non-Muslim world, against the rest of the world for centuries, the Islamic world has also been fighting itself among each other for centuries. The Shia-Sunni divide has been going on since less than a century after Muhammad's death. And only a century ago, only 1 or 2 centuries ago, have they started calming a little bit down and tolerating each other a little bit. But if you go to Iran, or if you go to, I would give Iraq as a very nice example. If you go to Iraq and you have discussions with Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims, you can still see in very basic, casual, daily talks, daily conversations, that the two hate each other. I, for example, have been to Iraq several times, and whenever I was there, without ever bringing up the topic, when I sat down with someone from the other side, I always heard curses against the other side, like from a Shia Muslim against a Sunni Muslim, or from a Sunni Muslim against a Shia Muslim. The divide has been going on forever. So while some people in the West especially try to sell us the notion that Islam is all about peace and tolerance, and that Muslims among themselves are completely peaceful if the evil West, if America only left them alone, the reality is completely different. In reality, there are so many different sides, especially the Sunni and the Shia, who still hate each other and who still fight each other wherever they can. The only thing now is that the Islamic world is so much inferior to the Western world, and that's why they are trying to calm a little bit down and trying to be a little bit more diplomatic, rather than just fighting and killing each other. I thought that was an important note to add. Anyway, everyone, if you want to direct more questions, you can use a super chat, or you can just type your question in the comments. I will try to compile your questions and ask them to Christian Prince, or also include them in my own talks. Christian Prince, Let me see. There have been some questions about your belief. You are a Christian, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen here someone saying that you are an atheist and that you sell yourself as a Christian or something like that. That's complete nonsense, you say, right?
Yeah, well, I am an atheist, and the way I like banana is that will make them prove that I'm an ape. I am an atheist somehow.
Okay.
people are funny. In the last month, we have at least 30 people left Islam in my channel, and many of them they accepted the Christ. So how I will be in the world? I will be an atheist. That's really funny.
I could say the same
Anyway.
with pride about my own work. By the way, we receive so many messages from Muslims who say that that they are thankful that they have left Islam, that they have either become Christians or they have gone a different path. So it's really absolutely great when you see people typing insults and stuff in the comment section. You would think that the Muslim world is only completely outraged with us, but many are only outraged because so many are leaving Islam due to these talks, and that is a great thing to do, Christian Prince. So I would like to ask you at this point, why did you decide to do this? Why did you decide to go out and talk to Muslims and debate them?
Well, since I was a young kid, if you try to learn about Islam, nobody want to talk about it. And if you are born of a Christian family, they don't even like to talk about it because they're afraid that their kids might be involved in a trouble if they speak about it.
Absolutely.
It's a very risky religion. So I decided to study so I can find answers first for myself. When a Muslim, he says to me, what we hear every day these days, and I don't know how to answer him. I have no idea what he's talking about. So I decided to study. So I decided to study Islamic law. And that helped me just to understand, let us say, the structures of Islam as a cult, but did not really give me too much knowledge as know what is deep inside the cult. The knowledge you have to search yourself and study and etc. And now, as you see, the Muslims are in this ability. Almost sometime in the same day, I received between 2 to 3 Muslims leaving Islam. And most of them, they leave Islam and they accept Christ even sometime live on air. And the reason for that, the Muslims, they got shocked when they hear what Islam is about, and they never heard this before. And each time I speak to a Muslim, he said to me the same sentence: I never heard this before. I never heard this before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you never heard this before because nobody will not tell you about this before, for this is not good to say. The same as in the Quran, chapter 5, verse 101 says, ask not questions. And verse 102, it says why? Because if you ask those questions, same questions, people of former generation left Islam because of them. So don't ask, don't tell. This is what Islam is about. So Islam can stand as long, there is somebody want to force Islam on you, but there's a sword. If you leave, we want to kill you. Actually, while we are chatting now, there's a guy he posted in your chat. His name, I think, Abdul Rahman al-Dakhil. He said that for every ex-Muslim you should know, soon you will lose your head, and this is how they can keep Islam surviving. You leave Islam, they will lose your head, but they cannot answer you, they cannot refute you, they cannot prove you wrong, so they threat you to. This is why when Muhammad died, the same day Muhammad died, thousands and thousands of people left Islam. So what Abu Bakr he did, the Muslim after Muhammad, after he died, people they start leaving Islam. They decide to launch a war. It's called the War of Apostate, and I'm sure you know about it.
Yeah, the Ridda Wars.
Yeah, why people they decide to leave? Simply because he forced them into Islam, and even the Quran he confirmed that. So Islam cannot stand questions, not only criticism. Normal question, a very simple question. As long like I have in the screen now, the Kaaba. If we ask the Muslims, you say you are not a pagan, so why you kiss the black stone? They say because the Prophet kissed it. Okay, why the Prophet kissed it? Because it's holy. Why it's holy? Because the Prophet kissed it.
Very nice point, by the way. There's this hadith in which Omar, I think, or Uthman, I don't know which one. No, it's Omar, yeah. Where he says to the black stone in the hadith, I know that you are of no benefit to me. If I didn't see the Prophet kiss you, I wouldn't kiss you. That's what Omar says in the hadith, right? You can confirm that, I guess.
Yes. But
it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, but this is a problem here because simply that's mean Umar he confirmed that Muhammad either a liar or is a hypocrite, because why he is kissing a stone is useless. Mm-hmm. They are just following it blindly. Same time, that will prove Muhammad to be a liar, because Muhammad, he told the Muslims, if you even touch the stones, not even kiss it, the two corners, if you touch them, the Yemeni corner and the black stone corner, if you touch them, those they forgive your sin. And then here we need to ask ourselves, how in the world touching stones can forgive sin if you are not a pagan? And this is what makes it more funny, that the Muslim, they claim that we are, as a Christians, me myself, you are not Christian, me myself is a pagan because we are not Muslims. But they are the one who believe in touching stones, touching those stones erase their sin. So who is the pagan here? So the stone, not only stone, I mean, the Muslims, they kiss a stone, they bow in front of a stone, they go around the stone, and they pray in the direction of the stone. So what if this is not paganism, what is paganism?
Absolutely. I would like to say this again to everyone, to every Muslim who is listening. You might not be informed about this, or your scholars, your local imams might tell you that this is something very beautiful, very nice when you tell you about it. But there truly is a hadith where Umar says that he would not kiss the black stone because from the black stone there can be no benefit to him. But he is kissing the black stone because Muhammad kissed the black stone. This is an absolutely ridiculous hadith if you look at it, if you think a bit further about it without relying on the weird interpretations of your local imams. When you think about this hadith, it implies that the black stone is really of no benefit to you at all. We are talking about the black stone which is attached to the Kaaba in Mecca. And he also very clearly says that he is only kissing the black stone because Muhammad kissed the black stone. So, nowadays many Muslims come out to tell us that Islam has so many practices that are completely beneficial to humans, that are in some way spiritually or physically beneficial to all of us. They try to tell us about science miracles in the Hadith and the Quran and so on. But there is this Hadith. Why don't Muslims talk about that? The Hadith clearly says that the stone has no benefit at all, but Umar is only kissing it because Muhammad kissed the stone. So you are doing an absolutely unnecessary and absolutely nonsensical practice that was only practiced by pre-Islamic pagans before, by pre-Islamic polytheists before, that the Quran hates so much. And this practice has been adopted without any doubt into Islam, into the Quran, into Islam. And Muslims are practicing this in masses now when they go to the Hajj, to Mecca. This is really ridiculous. So every Muslim who is watching, every Muslim who is going to hear this, please think about this for 1 second and think of anything useful that you have in your head about this. It will be, you will probably end up with the same conclusion. There is something wrong with Islam.
If I have any of my books, I have 2 new books I published not long time ago. It's called Sex and Allah, volume number 1 and volume number 2. You will see that the black stone, and this is all from the history books of Islam, not from my own, that women before Islam, they used to go to the black stone, which is considered as a vagina. It is the fertility god. It used to have a clitoris inside it. They used to go and they put their hand over their vagina when they have their period, and then they place their hand inside the black stone, praying to Allah, which is the moon god, to make them get pregnant so they can have babies. And this is why Muhammad, he said that the black stone used to be white like milk, and then the sin of mankind made it black. Why? Because when women, they place their blood, those people believe that when the woman, she is not getting pregnant because simply she commit a sin. God is angry. So now what she do, she go to the Kaaba, she put her hand over her private part when she is bleeding from period, and then she put her hand inside the black stone, and then she pray to Allah to get pregnant, and then the man after that, he will come and they do hajj. Actually, the hajj was not hajj, it is hak. Hak means scratching. The male, they used to scratch their penis inside the black stone after the female, they pass by. So your wife, she go first, she put her hand over her vagina with the blood in her hand. She placed her hand inside the black stone. Then the guy after that, the husband supposedly, or the spouse, he go and he placed his penis in the black stone and he scratched the black stone with it. And then supposedly that will help them to have babies because that will make Allah happy. So this is a very demonic, satanic, pagan cult. Same time, when the Muslim, they say to us that this is a holy stone, and all of them they agree. Even Muhammad, he said that the black stone is going to have two eyes and tongue in the judgment day, and is going to speak our sin. So Muhammad, he claimed that this stone is a living stone. It's not just a stone, it's a living stone. Even there's a hadith says that the black stone is the right hand of Allah. All of this leads us to one thing, that this is nothing but a pure paganism. So when a Muslim, he speak there's a guy in the chat, he said, why you kiss the cross? First of all, kissing the cross have nothing to do with the teaching of Jesus. If somebody do it, this is his business. But Jesus nowhere says kiss the cross. So we are talking about Muhammad kissing a stone. We are not talking about Jesus kissing cross. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if you want to compare between the teaching of the founder and the I'm not accusing Muslims that they kiss a stone and that will make them pagan. I am saying Muhammad himself is kissing the stone. So because if you kiss a stone and Muhammad don't tell you to do that, then I cannot say Islam is teaching you that. But if you kiss a stone following the steps of your prophet and you believe that this is a holy stone, and by the way, there's nothing left of the black stone. The black stone the Muslims they have today in the Kaaba, after Al-Qurmuti he destroyed the Kaaba and he screamed in the middle of the Kaaba saying to Allah, where is your birds? If you remember, there's a chapter, it's called the chapter of the elephant, where supposedly Allah he sent an army of army of a bird to destroy an army of elephant. And then why? Because this is his house. I mean, you cannot destroy the house of Allah. No way. Allah will not let you do it. So in chapter 105, very small chapter, it's called the chapter of the elephant, very funny chapter, is claiming that Allah he sent an army of birds to destroy an army of elephants was coming from Ethiopia to destroy the Kaaba. And this is very funny because Al-Qurmuti he destroyed the black stone, destroyed the Kaaba. He took the black stone and then he made it pieces. And actually the Muslim now they don't have a black stone. If you go and check the pictures, you will find that the black stone now is a small 8 pieces, and they glue it together with expensive wax with nice perfume to make it stay together, and they have to do maintenance almost every few days to keep the black stone from being stolen.
It has been destroyed before Islam and it has been destroyed several times after Islam, so it's really ridiculous.
And you know, Al-Qurmuti, by the way, you said that the Sunni they always persecute the Shia, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Not always. The Shia actually.
Not always. I mean, for a long time.
Yeah. But the Shia they did the same. It's about who is in the power. The one in the power, he humiliated the other one, and then they will find themselves they have to use the taqiyya. So during the time, and this is what Islam work. I mean, can you imagine that all of Egypt used to be Shia? How they became all of them Sunni in one day? Simply, you change the king. You change the king, everybody falls into the new belief. Who dare to say no? So when the Shia control in Egypt, the Shia they were doing the same humiliation for the Sunni. Yep. When the Sunni controlled until now, the Sunni now are the majority in Egypt. The Shia are very little. So if you are a Shia and you live in Egypt, actually not 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they killed a Shia sheikh, and they drag his body, and then they cut him pieces. And the government, they could not do really anything about it. Mm-hmm. And this is why, because they are a small, tiny Shia minority. But if you go to Iraq, the story is the same, but the opposite. If you are a Sunni, they will kill you, they will drag you in the street, and if you are a Shia who live in Iraq, but in a Sunni area, they will do the same to you, Mm-hmm. Like this is what happened during the time of ISIS. They go in the street and they shoot anyone as a Shia just because he's a Shia.
Yeah.
So it's an ugly cult, and they practice what they learn from their God.
By the way, that's also when ISIS persecutes minorities like the Shia in Islamic regions, they do that completely based on Islamic texts. They do that completely based on Islamic hadith that they also cite. One very important hadith that exists that ISIS has cited forever is even a prophecy by Muhammad about the future, where Muhammad says that in the future there will be a people who will pray, who will act like Muslims, who will dress like Muslims, and so on. But their faith will not go beyond their throat, or something like that. I don't know. You might know the wording a little bit better. But the hadith literally says, wherever you find them, kill them. This is what the hadith literally says, and this is an end time prophecy in Islam, and that's also what ISIS cites when they go around and kill Shia Muslims and other people. So it's really ridiculous once you get into into all these topics. Once you approach Islam a bit skeptically, all the disgusting stuff that you find out about Islam, all the disgusting stuff that they don't tell you about Islam when you are a little child who grows up in a Muslim family. I mean, I was subject to the same way of education. We have been told from childhood that this is a beautiful religion, this is the truth of all time, and so on. But once you grow up and once you look into the matter by yourself, you will find out so much cancer in your Islamic sources that it will make your stomach turn. So, as said, by the way, a little anecdote to what Christian Prince said. Egypt and a very large Muslim region was once ruled by the Shia Muslims. It was called the Fatimid Caliphate at one time. In other times, it was under different names. And the Shia even ruled over Mecca and Medina. Many Muslims think that is something impossible because they believe that the lands have been under their own true guide forever. But that's not true. Mecca and Medina have been ruled by the Shia, and Sunni Muslims consider Shia Muslims not Muslims. They consider them kuffar, they consider them munafiq, so which means heretics or hypocrites. So I don't know, we have said so many things that tell us that the basic education that a Muslim receives is completely false, as it turns out when you study Islam by yourself. And this is just one of those things. It's really crazy. So every Muslim who is listening, please open your book, open your Quran, open your Hadith books, and start reading it by yourself. If you really need to get a second opinion, if you really need to listen to scholars, read the interpretation, read the exegesis, the tafsir of Ibn Kathir. You will find so much disgusting stuff in that. You will probably join me in criticizing Islam in the future if you do that. Or you will join Christian Prince in criticizing Islam. I don't know, whoever you join. By the way, a short thing to say. If you want to make a super chat, guys, please, I can't see the super chats that you make on Christian Prince's channel. We have the live chat open on both of our channels. I can only see the ones that you make on my channel. So I'm sorry if I miss those on the other side. But let me quickly squeeze those in for you, Christian Prince. Falco XTZ said, did you know the Blackstone got destroyed and robbed? Yes, we just talked about it. Thank you so much, Falco. Misty Radical Love Miranda said, do you think that Muhammad might have got different revelations than what his followers put on the original Quran? We love you both. Thank you both. Well, thank you so much, Miranda. I would say that that we don't even know what Muhammad really received, that we don't even know what Muhammad really said, because the Quran that we read today is completely based on what other people after him present us, what Uthman after Muhammad put into the Quran. There might have been so many more things inside the Quran. There have been actually, according to Islamic beliefs, some things in the Quran that have been later abrogated and removed from the Quran. And there might have been so many more things missing from the Quran, or so many more things added into the Quran. Christian Prince, what will you say about this?
Well, I don't really care if the Quran was original, is still original or not, or it is corrupt, because I cannot prove the corrupt to be corrupted twice, and there's no point of it. I believe this is a false book anyway, and the Quran is filled with the stories proving that this is a false book. A God who says that the sperm is coming from the ribs of the women cannot be God. Women have no sperm. A God who says the man have a sperm coming from his backbone. This is very silly, and all of us, we know what testicles do.
Yeah.
A God who do not even remember which one he created first, the stars or the trees. That cannot be God. I mean, the Quran is a chain of madness. God who teaches us that he have hail coming from mountains in heaven, and this is how hail is created. This is a silly God, A God who teaches in the Quran about a flying carpet for Sulaiman, and Sulaiman, he have an army of genie and birds and chickens. I mean, you have to be a mad person to believe in such a fiction stories. So for me, I prefer to stay focusing in the Quran as they have it today, not in the corruption of the Quran. However, if we go as an example, there's a big scholar, his name is As-Suyuti. As-Suyuti alone, he reported that there's more than 57 corruption in the book, and the corruption we are speaking about is huge. As an example, As-Suyuti, he says, and he proved that from for sure from other Islamic scholars and reference, that the chapter of Al-Baqarah used to be equal to the chapter of Al-Ahzab. And that means there's hundreds of verses are missing in one chapter alone. Just one chapter alone, hundreds of verses are missing. So according to Umar al-Khattab, that the Quran was 1,027,000 letter. That means there's more than 80% of the Quran is gone. Actually, even the Hadith, which the Muslim Sunni they believe in, it confirmed that when Muhammad he died, Aisha, she said that the Muslims were busy with his death, and then a goat came and ate the Quran, and right now there's many verses are missing, we cannot find them. So the Quran is corrupt or not, it's a stupid book anyway. But is it corrupt? I believe nothing in the Quran is a Quran, because I believe the Quran is a collection of stories, and there's no guarantee that one word is coming from Muhammad. Who is Muhammad? We do not know. Like you see the Muslims, I saw videos saying that the book written by John who? The book written by Matthew who? And by the way, if you open the book of John, you will see John speaking about himself, who is he? But if we open the book of Quran to see who is Muhammad, we don't know. We do not know his name. We do not know, because Muhammad is not the name of Muhammad. This is why the Quran sometimes says Ahmad, sometimes say Mustafa, sometimes say Ahmad. So who is Muhammad? So Muhammad obviously is a nickname. Okay,
we don't have proper historical sources about that either. For example, there was the Byzantine emperor at the time of Caliph Umar, who corresponded with him, even said that Muhammad is not even a real character, that Muhammad was probably made up, and that the religion of Islam was made up by Umar and his friends. That's what a Byzantine emperor said more than 1,000 years ago. It's a historical record. It's very interesting.
It might be he's a real person. It might be.
It might be, sure.
But the name we have in front of us, this is not his name. If you read my books, I'll give you a reference where even the Muslims themselves, they speak that when Muhammad he was born, his grandfather he called him Qatham, not Muhammad. So nobody knows who is Muhammad. Nobody knows. If we read the book of history, you will see, even in my books, you will see that Muhammad was born 4 years after his father's death. I mean, how in the world this can happen? A guy, his father passed away 4 years before, and then he is born 4 years after his father. And then you say to me, he is the son of a guy, his name is Abdullah. The father of Muhammad, his name is Abdullah, but yet he don't believe in Allah. So what does that mean? This is impossible. So what happened, I believe, that Muhammad, everything about him, he tried to hide his identity. Let's say he have a shameful identity. So Muhammad, maybe his father was, if you read the names of the uncles of Muhammad, all of them, they are the slaves of one of the idols around the Kaaba, like Uzza and Lat and Al-Muttalib. So the names themselves are idols, and Muhammad's father, he must have an idol god too. So what they did, they changed the real name of Muhammad's father, because it's a shame for that will make him the son of a guy who worship Al-Uzza, as an example. So they changed it with Abdullah. Abdullah in Arabic, if you go right now in the Middle East, if somebody would not know who is he, we say Abdullah Fulan, which means unknown. We do not know really who is he. Abdullah Fulan, which means I don't know. He is a slave of Allah. You know what I mean? What the word Abdullah mean? Like if you do not know him, I asked you who is etc. I said, Abdullah. He's a slave of Allah. So I do not know his first name, I do not know his last name, I do not know where he's coming from. Abdullah. So Muhammad is a son of Abdullah. But who is Abdullah? Nobody knows. Muhammad is a son of a woman, her name is Amina. But who is Amina? We do not really know much. Because even the Muslim, they say that Muhammad, when he was born, his family to try to get rid of him. And that is very weird. They send him to a Bedouin women, and they say the reason, none of the female of the family wanted to breastfeed him for Muhammad. And this is a shame, because this is a tribe and they are family. The tribe, this is a tribe. This is when we talk about tribe, those people, they die to defend each other. So how in the world not even one female should want to feed the baby who was just born? Why did they want to do that? So they send him out because simply he was rejected by the family, for nobody accept the birth of this child to be the son of their brother. And this is why we see Muhammad is cast away, trying to get rid of him. And then when they cast him to a Bedouin woman, Muhammad, he used to have a seizure, and he faint always. And the woman, she afraid that he will die between her hand, and they will hold her responsible for his death. So she cast him back, and she sent him back. Said, "I cannot have him. You take your son." So the life story of Muhammad, nothing of it makes sense. What makes sense, that because Muhammad, he was suffer a lot from females, the females of his uncles, as they claim. He hated women very much, and he wanted to seek revenge from them when he got power. This is why we see Muhammad always speaking about women as they are the devil. They are the devil. So he want to abuse them the same as they abused him when he was a child. So we see Muhammad, he says, like, even when he have sex with the women, he says that women, she approach in the image of the devil, and she lead in the image of the devil.
Yep. Okay, thank you so much. I would like to answer some questions. Time Space said something interesting. He basically said, why are there so many hadith that are so much concerning that when humans read it, they would question Islam? Did the authors of the hadith not think about these things? Well, I would briefly say many people don't really know how the hadith came into existence. The hadith are even more complicated, even more weird than how the Quran came into existence. The Quran came into existence by compiling different oral and written notes by different people who were supposedly around Muhammad when he made his revelations, which is why the origin of the Quran is so questionable. As Christian Prince said right now, there are so many complications within the Quran. We don't even know who wrote it. We don't know who the Muhammad is it talks about. We don't really know the context of many things in the Quran. There's also something very interesting that I would like every Muslim to consider, which is chapter 9 in today's Quran. According to a very authentic hadith that we can all find and see, the story of chapter 9 in the Quran is a very ambiguous backstory, because when the people were compiling the Quran, they had the chapter 9 before them, in front of them, but they didn't really know where to put that chapter. They saw the beginning of the chapter, they saw the end of the chapter, but they had no idea where to place that chapter. Some suggested to place that chapter into another chapter. Some suggested to place it between different chapters. And in the end, they came up with the solution that we have today, which is that this chapter is the 9th chapter, and it doesn't start with the regular start, which is in the name of Allah, Bismillah, as we see in other chapters. So the hadith very clearly say that the people, when they were compiling the Quran, did not know what to do with the 9th chapter, because Muhammad died before he gave them further instructions on what to do with this Quran. But when you are a Muslim, you learn that everything was completely, perfectly planned and arranged, and Allah revealed the message to the Muslims. Muhammad gave the Muslims the message, and the Muslims knew exactly what to follow and what to do. When you read the authentic hadith, you see the opposite. The people were just standing there with several notes that they compiled, and they didn't know what to do with this one specific chapter. That's why when you read it today, it sounds very weird. I want to take 2 super chats. Michael Wilcox said Muslim scholars admitted that Bismillah is not in the old Quran. That's a very interesting thing to talk about. Just a second. MKC420 said, why do Muslims claim that a golden ratio is a Muslim miracle? I would like to give you one of those questions, Christian Prince. I would like to answer the thing about the golden ratio very quickly. For those who
the golden ratio,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
the golden ratio, if it's true, that proves the Trinity.
Well, I would like to say very simply, the golden ratio is nothing to be to take miraculously, especially when we talk about the Quran and Islam. What Muslims do very often is that they point out the golden ratio. They say, when you put the golden ratio on a world map, you will find Mecca in the center of it.
No, I did that actually. This is false. I did that, and I made a video about it. This is false. It's not true.
It's false.
It's false. Absolutely. The only way to make the Mecca, as they claim, first of all, the golden ratio based on in the calculation they try to do, it's based on fake line we made. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The degrees, the divide of the earth, it is us we made. This is not real.
Yep.
So when we say we say your location now in the map based on satellite, This is not real. This is a map we created.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with Allah.
Absolutely.
So if you want to measure that based on this, that will be, you are stupid. It's not Allah who did that. It's me. The one who made this map is God himself. Secondly, even the calculation is wrong. We can do it. And the only way to make it correct, actually, according to them, is to have the earth to be flat. Same time, when a Muslim, he speak about the location of the Kaaba. Just today, I was making a video about how the Kaaba is in the worst location. Actually, today the Kaaba, by the way, is under attack by cockroaches. I don't know if you saw the video I made. So there's billions of cockroaches attacking Mecca, and the prayer now is not allowed in Mecca until they fight it. But if you go to the live broadcast of Mecca prayer, it's still going, which means this is a recorded prayer. Now, if we go in the, I will show you in the screen. If the Muslims say that the Kaaba is based perfectly by Allah, then how the Muslims explain to us that the Kaaba in the worst location ever to be? As you see here with me, this is the Kaaba is flooded by the sewage. Each time little rain come, the Kaaba will be covered by the water of the sewage. So let us say this is the golden ratio of Allah, and Allah, he chose the Kaaba in the best location, and then Allah, he put it in a place where the Kaaba will be always flooded and damaged. Because, by the way, now the Kaaba, now they put the rocks together by concrete, but before it was mud. And you know what water do to mud, right? The water would destroy the structures. So because when the mud became wet, it is strong as long as dry. But when you put too much water, the mud will become, like it became mud again, and then the Kaaba will be destroyed. So how they say to us that this is a location designed and chosen by Allah, and as we see in the screen, those who are watching in my channel, the Kaaba is almost covered by the water, which is a dirty water. Because remember that the Mecca does not have a sewage. The Kaaba, the houses in Mecca and most of Saudi Arabia, there's no sewage. They have a poo hole. Like every house have its own hole in the yard, and then if a flood came, all the poo in the hole will fly in the top of the water, will float as if it's a cake. And then as you see, look with me in the Kaaba picture, you will see the cake is all over around the Kaaba. So here we go, your God Allah, he chose the Kaaba, he put it in the place which you like to be holy, and now the Kaaba is covered by poop and by dead rats and dead mice and water which is coming from a sewage and a flood. So now if imagine you hire the most expensive company to choose for you a place where this is the best place in the world. Say to them, I want the best place for my house. I am God. I want a place for my house, holy place. And then they choose this place. I mean, this engineering company, they are the worst. So if your God is the one who chose this means your God is an idiot. He could not choose better place. Same time, let us say for the sake of argument, Allah is the one who chose this place. And now after that, he noticed that the Kaaba is flooded. Can't Allah move his finger? The Muslims, they say to us, if Allah want to fix something, he say B is going to be. Okay, Allah, say to the Kaaba, all the ground under the Kaaba go up. So when the flood come next time, the Kaaba will not be flooded. Obviously, Allah is not God. This is a silly statement.
And the golden ratio makes no sense. Christian Prince, finally, what would you say about the whole thing? I've seen so many people talk about that the Mecca that we see in the Quranic description is not the Mecca that we have today. And some critics of Islam have suggested that the actual Mecca in the Quran was at a different place, like Petra, that the Kaaba was in Petra, and so on. I don't really go very much into those theories because I don't think that there is enough proof, enough evidence that we can take to really talk about something like that firmly. But what do you think about those arguments?
Well, you see, there is a temple in Yemen, not in Petra. It's called Al-Maqqa. Al-Maqqa. And Al-Maqqa is a temple for the moon god. If you go to chapter 3, verse number 96, it says, the first sacred place appointed for mankind was at Becca. Now the Muslims, they try to say, oh, this is Becca, this is Mecca. And they say to you, because the Arab, sometimes they pronounce the letter B as M, and sometimes M as B, and then sometimes Qa as Ka. So that's what I'm saying actually. Becca and Makkah is what the Quran here is saying, that there is a holy place, the first place where God he chose to be his temple is, and that is the moon god, is the temple of Makkah, which is in Yemen. And you go there, you will find that this is the temple of the moon god, and the one who built it, supposedly, many historians they say that the one who built it is the Sabian. And Muhammad himself was called Sabian for a while. And even Muhammad, he promised the Sabian to go to heaven, which is weird because Sabian, they worship stars and planets.
Absolutely,
So,
very important point.
Yeah. So here the Sabian, they built the temple of Al-Makkah, and Muhammad is confirming. This is why, if you remember, I showed a hadith that there's two corners. If you touch them, those two corners, they forgive your sin. Okay, why they forgive the sin? Because one of them is the Yemeni corner. Why it's called Yemeni corner? The Muslims, they say because it's facing Yemen. So what facing Yemen? Well, that will make it Yemeni corner. And why this corner, if you touch it, the same as the black stone, is going to forgive your sin? The Yemeni corner contain stones from the temple of Al-Makkah in Yemen. So what they do, like the same some Christians, when they want to build a church, they bring a bones of a saint, and they put the bones in the structures of the church, the new church they want to build, and they build a church in the top of the bones of the saint. The Muslims, Muhammad and the Arab before him, they bring stones from Al-Makkah, and because this is holy stones, so to make it simple, why you want to go and travel all the way to Yemen to touch those stones? We bring the stones for you. So we bring some stones from that temple, we put them in the wall of the Kaaba, and here we go, you have the temple of Makkah right next to your door. You do not need to go all the way there, and you can just practice your pagan religion right here in Mecca. So Mecca is a copy of Al-Makkah.
A hadith even says that that when the companions of Muhammad went down to Yemen for some conquest or to invite people to Islam, there was a temple called Kaaba. That's literally what the hadith says, and the hadith goes further on saying that a companion of Muhammad went ahead and burnt the temple down and dismantled it, which is ironic because the Kaaba that we call Kaaba today is also a Kaaba. So it's very much the same thing. It's a mystery how Islam got away with that, and you see in the Islamic sources themselves that there is that there is such a thing. Such a relation between the Kaaba that we have today in Mecca and the Kaaba that was apparently also in Yemen. Thank you so much.
There was 26 Kaaba. There was 26 Kaaba actually, in the Arabian Peninsula, and even the Muslims, they agree about that. So every Kaaba, Kaaba is simply a mall. Kaaba is not something special. It's a mall where people, they place their idols around it, and even the Muslims agree around the Kaaba there was 360 idols. And people, they go there to buy and sell. It's a business place. Same time, it's a religious place. So there's 26 Kaaba, and every town have their own Kaaba, and they bring stones from a holy stone. I don't know if you know about this hadith. As an example, a Muslim, very well-known Muslim said, and before Islam, we used to worship stones. And if we could not find a stone, even like if we find let us say, I will read the hadith. This is Sahih Bukhari. It says, we used to worship stones, and when we found a better stone than the first one, we would throw the first one and take the later. But if we could not get a stone, now look at the rituals. They create and own a stone by rituals. If we could not find a stone which is better than the one to worship, we would collect some earth, i.e. soil, and bring a sheep and milk the sheep over it and perform tawaf around it. You see tawaf? So tawaf is something they do long before Islam, have nothing to do with Muhammad, have nothing to do with Abraham, have nothing to do even with the existence of the Kaaba. They make a stone from dirt and milk. They mix it together, and they make a shape of a rock, and then they go around it doing tawaf. Mean going around it. This is what tawaf mean. So this is what the Arab do always, and nothing new. And Muhammad, he just copy exactly what was before him.
Absolutely, this is a very important point, especially to the Muslims who are watching, or to the Muslims who are going to watch. This is a hadith that Christian Prince just read for us. It says very explicitly. It describes very explicitly that in pre-Islamic Arabia, people used to worship stones, and people used to take stones and replace their existing stones with better stones, and then perform the tawaf around them. Tawaf means the thing that Muslims do nowadays, circling around the Kaaba. This is a very clear pre-Islamic practice. I explained all of this Kaaba story in a video that I made before, which is the most watched video on my channel, which is called The Truth About the Kaaba, in which I also tell you that the tawaf is a practice that had nothing to do with Christianity or with Judaism. That didn't exist in those religions at all. The stone that we have, the black stone at the Kaaba, and the Kaaba itself, are also two elements that are very important in pre-Islamic pagan religions and cultures. They have also nothing to do with Judaism and Christianity. And a regular Muslim is never told about this, but when you go into this, you will find out that these practices indeed come from pre-Islamic paganism. So with all of this taken into consideration, when you look at these sources, and when you use your head only a little bit, not even too much, you will see that Islam basically evolved out of pre-Islamic paganism, adopted some Christian and Jewish practices, and then started selling itself as an Abrahamic religion, as the true Abrahamic religion. But it is completely based on pre-Islamic Arab pagans and their rituals. So
Muhammad, he copy, Muhammad, he copy from here, from there.
Yeah.
Muhammad, he tried to make, as an example, in the beginning, Muhammad, he don't have something that's called Ramadan. So what Muhammad used to do? Muhammad, he was looking around him, and everybody have a fasting except him. So he decided to have fasting, like the Christian have fasting, the Jews have fasting. So how come the pagan have fasting? So he need a fasting day. So he decided to come with the fasting. So he was, he looked around him. Some hadiths they say that he copied from the Jews Ashura. Some they say he copied from the pagans. So the pagan used to fast Ashura, and even Muhammad, he said that the one who fasts Ashura, Allah will forgive his sin for the last year which passed. This is how important it is. Just if you fast Ashura. And now if you ask the Muslim, do you fast Ashura? Muslim, they say no. Okay, how this fasting was so important to Muhammad, to the point if you fast in that day, will forgive all your sin for the last year. They say to you, because at that time Muhammad, he did not have Ramadan yet. So we replace Ramadan, we replace Ashura by Ramadan. Okay, well, if you are saying to me that one day fasting is going to forgive the sin of all the year, that means this day is better than Ramadan. Because if you fast the whole month of Ramadan, you will not have your sin forgiven for the past year. But if you fast this day, your sin is forgiven for the whole past year. But here you will notice Muhammad, he was trying just to make an excuse to accept this fasting, to make it as his fasting. And when he found something better, the same as the hadith about the stones, we find better stones, we leave the stone before it and we go to the new stone. Here Muhammad, he found Ashura is a way to make himself look like a prophet, and then he liked Ramadan better, and because this is what the Sabian they do. So he wanna be hypocrite as a Sabian. So he told them, okay, Sabian, I will do what you do. You fast Ramadan, I will fast Ramadan. The Sabian, they do ablution. Okay, we will do ablution like the Sabian. Exactly the same. So Muhammad, he copied everything he have from somebody. Nothing he have. The only thing Muhammad is his own fabrication is verses in the Quran about sex or money. So like Muhammad wanna sleep with women, he make verse says any woman she wanna give her vagina to the Prophet so he can sleep with her. That is Muhammad fabrication. But most of the rest, as an example, the flying carpet of Sulaiman, this is from the legend of the Jews. The seven sleepers, this is a story written by the Christians, fiction story. The Christian, they wrote it just as an example how the Christians are persecuted and one day they will be victorious. The story of Alexander the Great, how he found the sun sitting in murky water. This is a fiction story written by a Syrian writer who is speaking about a real figure, which is Alexander the Great, but the story itself is a fiction. That he went all the way and he found the sun sitting in the murky water, and then Muhammad, he adopted all those stories and he put them in the Quran, and he claimed that he received those from his God.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the clarification. I want to take two more super chats. MKC420 said, thanks AP, keep up the good work. Thank you so much for the super chat. And Oscar Begol said, wasn't Muhammad a victim of Satan himself when he flirted and married Zainab? Because the hadith says Satan is the third when a man and a woman are together. Very good point. I don't think we have to go very much into this, but a hadith indeed says that if a woman and a man are together, which refers to an unmarried couple that could get married, then the third of them is Satan. But Muhammad was also alone with Zainab, according to biographies of Muhammad, and Zainab was the wife of his adopted son, and then he ended up marrying the wife of his adopted son. So it appears he was very much the victim of what he himself said. We could also see this as Muhammad packing his insecurities into the hadith, into his preachings to his own audience. So when Muhammad saw that something was not really good for society, but it happened to him, he apparently included this in the hadith. And along with that, we also have so many weird teachings, like that a woman approaches and retires in the shape of Satan, and so on. Very good point, Oscar Begol. Thank you so much. I would say, Christian Prince, that we stop here at this point. We have talked for about 1.5 hours. It was a very, very great live chat. You have made very great points. I think there is so much in this live chat that Muslims can take out of, and that they can go on to and think further about their own religion and discover that there is something wrong with Islam. You have made very great points. I appreciate that so much. So thank you again for joining, Christian Prince.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any last words to our audience?
Well, I say to everybody who is listening, anything I say to you, or I don't know, Apostate, the Prophet, if we say something to you, check it out. If it's not true, laugh at us. If it's not true, laugh at us. Here we go. We show on the screen all the reference. We show you this is what happened. And you cannot run away. You can call us names. You can say whatever you want, but you cannot get away from what is in the screen. This is your books. This is your reference. It's not us who print it. It's not us who preserve it. It's not us who copy it by heart. And it's not us who brought it to you. It's in there, but you did not read it, and now we are sharing it with you. So don't be upset from what we share with you. This is your cult. Live with it. Thank you very much for having me, my friend.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Thanks again. I will be back very soon with a dedicated video, probably this week. I'm still trying to recover from my little health issues, but I will be back with all of you very, very soon. So thank you, everyone, again for joining. Thank you so much for the questions. I tried to compile them. Thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you so much for all the great comments. And thank you for all the well wishes. I'm really doing very well. Thank you all so much. That said, everyone have a great day and stay away from Islam.